What's up everyone, I hope you're having a good day. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over the most optimal HUD that you can use in Fortnite Mobile that will allow you to perfect your mechanics. I'll be going over both the 6 and 8 finger claw, with the 8 finger being the most optimal I believe you can have in the game. Even if you're comfortable with your current HUD and skill level, Fortnite's skill gap is increasing constantly. Eventually the only way to improve will be to improve your HUD. At the moment this isn't the case, but eventually improving your HUD will make a big impact, and the earlier you start, the earlier you'll improve. I've been playing 6 finger for over a year, and I was comfortable with my current skill level. However, I still wanted to improve, and that's why I switched to 8 fingers. Also, if you think it may be too difficult and you're not comfortable with it, it just takes time. After you relearn your muscle memory, it'll become easier and easier. This video may be longer as I'm going to be going in depth to explain as much possible as I can, so I'll leave timestamps in the comments and description below. Also, both of these HUDs have been built around iPad, but I can explain to you the certain button layouts that you should be using, and then you can adapt and put this into an iPhone HUD. Also, if you want me to make a specific iPhone HUD video, let me know in the comments. Sorry for the long intro, but that's pretty much everything I had to say. Now let's get right into the video.
Left the tongue stain, let my what hang, falling short breath, got my lungs curved, I'm a nuisance.
The first HUD I'm going to be showing you is my new 8 finger HUD. This is different than the one I showed in my previous video, the one I just switched to, as while researching for this video I found out that my HUD could be improved even more. This HUD takes advantage of double edit binds, splitting builds up to multiple fingers, and removing the need to switch between build and edit mode. If you want to copy this HUD you can go ahead, but what I recommend is just using the same button layouts that I'll show you, and rather putting the buttons in the place where your hands feel natural. This is my 8 finger HUD, and I'm going to be going over what each of my fingers do and why I place certain buttons where they are. The only downside of this HUD is my use button, which is underneath my trap slot, which you get to slightly reach your index finger for. Otherwise there's almost no downsides to this HUD. Starting with your thumbs, the only thing you should use your thumb for is movement and aiming. I use my movement on my left thumb and space to aim on my right thumb. I also have my reload button on my right thumb, but I rarely actually press it, and instead just tap on my gun to reload. With my left ring finger, I fire and also place builds. This is more optimal than using the look stick, as it basically acts as a larger second fire button, which is unnecessary if you are using more than 4 fingers. I also rotate builds with my ring finger. Going to my middle finger, this is part of my double edit bind setup, which I use the edit toggle and reset button for, which is how I start my edit process. I leave this visible in all modes so that I can start my edit whenever. Then my other edit button, which I use to reset edits, is just the edit button, the natural one, which I only keep visible in edit mode. I'll show an example of how this works, but essentially you click the edit toggle and reset, and then you confirm the edit with the edit button, and you can click these simultaneously, which instantly resets your build. I have this on my index finger, which is the most accurate, so if you find yourself messing up resets a lot, I also find that this is a helpful HUD for that, as you can be really accurate with your resets and do them very quickly, as they're split up to different hands. After that, I have the targeted edit button, which I use my right middle finger for, and this is how I actually select the tiles I edit with. I have this on in all modes, and I have it over my ADS button, which I don't have on in build or edit mode, so it doesn't interrupt. Even on my first day on this HUD where I was still really uncomfortable, this editing is so optimized that my edits were already very fast. Moving on to my right ring finger, this is what I use to jump with, and that's pretty much all I do besides for repair builds with it. Now moving on to my build and combat selection, with my right index finger I click my inventory, crouch, and also 3 of my build and combat selections. Previously I've used hotbar for all of Fortnite Mobile, but I've recently switched to the extra buttons as you're able to split up your builds, which is one of the most important things that I'm going to talk about today in becoming a better player. Using the hotbar forces one of your fingers to select all of your builds, whereas using the extra buttons is easier as you can shape it to however you want and you can fit other buttons in easier, and you can also split up your builds to multiple fingers. This is essentially what PC keybinds is, as all pro players have their builds on different fingers so they can select them almost simultaneously. In terms of having ramp and pyramid on the one side, that's because ramp and floor and pyramid and floor are often placed simultaneously whenever doing double and triple edits or ramp rushes. Also having wall and ramp separated pair well together since those are often used together. These other buttons are pretty much useless. The only thing that I would have is my material selection, also on my index finger, all of my combat buttons on my left index finger besides for my 5th slot, and that's pretty much my HUD. One last thing to add is that I actually don't have the switch modes button on my screen because I just directly tap on what I want. So when I'm pulling out my builds, I select the build that I want and then I just start placing it. Also, I select back on my combat to switch back to combat mode, and this takes time to get used to, but eventually it's more optimal than having to switch between build modes because you can do it quicker. Also, here's just a picture of what each finger does for anyone that wants that. Next, I'll be showing you a 6-finger claw for those that want to play 6 instead of 8, although I highly recommend switching to that 8-finger HUD as it's one of the most optimal in the game. This 6-finger HUD is pretty much just a simplified version of my 8-finger HUD as well, but it is optimized from what my previous 6-finger claw was. Now in this HUD I'm showing it with a hotbar right now, but I actually recommend that you still use the extra build buttons, even if you use the automatic slots instead of the individual ones, because you can shape it better and you can split it up if you want. Now, pretty much the explanation for why I have these buttons in certain places is the same as with my 8-finger HUD. I have my edit button over my fire button, and this is the one that's only visible in edit mode, and that's because I can double bind. So I start my edit by pressing it with my left index finger under my hotbar or quick buttons, and I do still have my select tile button over my ADS, which I use with my right index. So to reset and edit, I start with my left index, and then do the double reset with my left middle finger. And then pretty much I still have the build button because I use automatic slots on 6-finger. You don't need that if you want. You can just switch it out and just have the individual buttons like I show here, as long as you can find space for them on your screen. But besides that, my right middle finger is used for jumping and repairing builds again. My right index finger is used for crouching, exiting vehicles, second ability, ADS, and the select edit. My right and left thumbs are the same as on my 8-finger HUD. My left index is for selecting builds, throwing items, starting edit, and that's pretty much all this HUD. I'll show another picture of what each finger does. That's pretty much the whole video. If you found this helpful at all, please leave a like. It took me a lot of time to research this. Also, even if you think you're at a high skill level, you may want to come back to this video in the future. Other than that, this video is already long enough, so I may as well try to get to 10 minutes. So I'm just going to show some highlights of a 30 bomb I dropped on West while warming up, and also this scrim that I played on my first day on my new 8-finger HUD. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you guys in the next one. Peace.